Since the dawn of 2001, people have been wondering, when will the Diablo developers not be fired and make a game just as monumental and exciting as Diablo 2? An ARPG that checks all the boxes, one that makes me say, fuck, instead of fuck. Since the eve of 2007, people have asked, man, when are they gonna make a good Diablo 2 too? This game right here is fairly notorious and also fairly not the best ARPG ever made. I just thought that'd be something you'd like to know right off the bat, thank you. Hellgate London is a great premise, a cool setting, and a bad game. And I'm not here to defecate over something you might appreciate, all the fans of Hellgate London. I see you online, look at those Steam chart numbers. Oh my god, I know some people love this game. And I honestly thought I was gonna be one of the people to enjoy it too at first. In this post-apocalyptic real-world scenario, you are some guy, Mr. Clean in my case, and he's ready to scrub the planet of all these evil demons. And at first I was impressed with the setting, the environment, the atmosphere, the absolute ruination of it all, and even how the perspective of a more third-person point of view changed how you engaged in combat. That was until I realized it was the most repetitive experience I have ever seen, and I have seen every Seer video, but those are repetitively good. Okay, I'll go through very deliberately. I'll give you my experience, my rundown, and through a series of twoies of saying swears and shit, we'll determine if Hellgate London is the best ARPG ever made. It's not. No. This game has a bit of a strange history. As previously mentioned, several Diablo 2 developers worked on it and had a great deal of expectation. There was an excitement brewing in the loins of lovers of Diablo all over the place, but little did anyone realize that the game wouldn't be that good. And it's not really entirely related to design or anything. I mean, originally there was a subscription service to play the fucking game, and from what I see, this wasn't your average online experience. Apparently, back in 2007 through 2009, when the servers for Hellgate London went offline, there were two types of accounts, free playing or fee paying. Yes, that's what Wikipedia says. Yes, that's literally the shittiest wording I've ever seen. But anyway, at Act 3, you had to pay money to keep going. I could give you more information. This video is attempting to be informational, not merely sensational, but I'm getting antsy to show you some footage. Long story short, I'm not sure I'm even remotely playing the original experience, as evidenced by this David Brevik Twitter thread, which talks about how the game got renovated by different non-Diablo 2 developers. There were expansions that were planned back in the day that didn't happen, but maybe they happen now. I actually don't know what the fuck's going on. So, par for the course. Point is, I'm quite literally playing some strange hybrid of games, and since I didn't experience the original back when it released, I have no point of reference. If that was great and you want to let me know, please do. If you come in here and you want to come white at me, call me names like Fucky Dick Sucky, just know that you're probably right and I don't care. Also, Dave Brev claims the game is the first looter shooter instead of Butterland, so you know, why not? I agree. That's a thumbs up. That's not going to save your product, I'm afraid. Anyway, here it is. Hellgate London. The opening cinematic shows current day London looking as beautiful as ever, with demons attacking and rampaging around, and you know, damn, this is great. What a wonderful Monday this is. Credit due though, the introduction is effective enough. I was curious just what the fuck, and I happily created a character, Mr. Clean, a marksman, and I got to work. Also, I just wanted to say you get to have stature sliders, so this chunky man, 7 foot tall and 400 pounds, and he decided to shoot guns. Dumbass. In-game now, and welcome to Tunnel Walking Simulator, where you spend most of the game inside of dim tubes talking to NPCs that bore you. So again, it's a good portrayal of London. Everyone bored me, at least. There's like a lot of old men characters, unless it's the same guy every time. I'm afraid I did not engage with this story very much, so I'm not positive on people's names. Also, yeah, want to clear something up. I made a video about ARPGs, go check it out, it's alright, and I claim that no one cares about lore, but this comment got some pushback. People said they love lore, and you know what? I do too. It's what one calls hyperbole, a joke, a gag, a laugh, a half-truth, because I think lore can be exciting. It's great, I love it. Give me a good story and I'm happy, but when your game is this one, and the lore is page and page and page of dialogue, wait against the inanity of walking around doing the same thing and again and again and again, I start thinking lore sucks. I might as well get a few more grievances out of the way, but something I usually don't care about, which does bother me about Hellgate London, is that the graphics bore me, and not because the graphics quality is bad, because for the era it was released in, they're pretty good. I'm not even talking about the style they went with, but just the sadness of it all, and it's not sad in a good way. I know it's meant to be a sad apocalyptic world. There's just chunks of 3D shit everywhere, blown up static buildings, huge expanses of dull texture, few distinct enemy models. Basically, I'm not chomping at the bit to run around this world and explore the copious corners and bonus rooms and boxes all over the ground, and I'm sorry, this criticism is even before I've clicked one button. I'm assholed reviewer. The demons and the drunks are to blame for London being in such a sorry state, as well as whichever political party you hate, those bastards ruining London again, but also apparently a global takeover from hell has occurred. Stop making games about fucking hell, and what that means is that humans have become like little rat people lying in wait for, well, to be honest, I don't know exactly. We can use magic, so I don't know why it's all so dire. Just get the spellcasters to go out and vanquish some bitches. That would be my direction. direction. In any event, I walk around the first environment, which is a good way to describe how the game works. Essentially, you have a tube. It's the home tube, safe from all monsters. They connect to portals that lead you to and fro, and as a result, the game is kind of like a hub system. You can warp to the various tubes, but there's not really an environment between places, just more tubes. And I don't think you can warp to non-tube locations, and if you fucking can, I'm writing a sternly worded letter to my brain where I call it a lot of names because I can't be this stupid. I literally don't see a menu, an item, anything to go to a specific map. Meaning if you're in the middle of a longer quest, you either have to run all the way back to complete it or finish it in one sitting and quit when you're back in the home base tube. Anyway, lore time, the year was 2020, and apparently hell breaks into London because of man's assholosity, and they start laying into people, taking over, causing havoc, starting the burn. Yes, the burn. And apparently the US and some nations, in quotes, they aren't specific, but they try traditional warfare and get totally owned, put into a montage, kind of destroyed. And the people who are doing well are religious and using incantations of holy magic, and you know, that all makes sense except for one little problem. Then why does this fucking gun do something? A little loose and fast with the consistency is all I'm saying. By the way, I looked it up. It's because the gun is a super magic holy fucking relic gun, and I don't like that answer. Don't give me that answer. If you comment that answer, I'm gonna remove you from my channel. Point is, there's a lot of traditional looking people fighting the forces of hell here, and yeah, I'd rather utilize the magicians to kick some ass, but you know, gun guy it was for me. Yes, yes. I will say the lore about atheists having no chance, but holy religious people with magic incantations and stuff for the hope of humanity is fun. I like it. When has that ever been a game's premise before? You get access to 6 different classes, with several of them being fairly ambiguous in my opinion. Guardian, Blade Master, Summoner, Evoker, Engineer, and Marksman. And I said, obviously, you know, sure, guns, Markman, Man Mark, and man, did this game miss the mark. Like, take the first zone, for example. I'm walking out here, it's fairly barren, and there's no acoustic guitar sound to lure me in, but I find some enemies, I shoot them, and for a bit, the dopamine is flying free. It's hanging out. I'm having a great time. There's decent density, and you kind of feel like you're a good player because there's some aiming going on. Drops are fairly frequent, and you're feeling good. It's going well. Then, compounded on, you get exposed to a fairly cool mechanic. When you kill enough regular enemies, a big demon arrives right then, there on the spot, and it's got unique modifiers. It's tough, and then when you kill it, you get a lot of rewards for it, so that's pretty cool. But then you realize this mechanic will follow you forever, and in a way it's sweltering. I'm not passing judgment. I'm not saying what dog shit fuck brain asshole stuff is this. I'm saying I don't know if it's entirely enjoyable, that you don't want to clear enemies because you're trying to just get through an area and would rather not spawn a super beast to come into the map and kill you. Much like this guy, Etharm. Now this fucking bastard, that's all I'm gonna call him, was actually atrocious. This is a bit later into the game. It's just a smidge, you know, into the future, so I'll explain skilling and stuff later, but I had to get into complaining about Etharm, the stupid ass himself. This enemy had such a high percentage of health relative to my own power that it was taking me like 1 second per 1% of his total HP, and that alone wouldn't be such a problem, but some sick, depraved individual invented a keyword. And I'm not sure which one it is here, whether it's robust, thriving, girthy, or what, but it made the enemy sporadically and seemingly randomly regain full health. So I sat here for 20 minutes literally wanting to clock my own cock because I wasn't willing to let Etharm off the hook. I think this sped up footage should be a good example of why the game in many ways feels like it could have used a bit more work. This boring attack rotation I have access to is ineffectual at dealing with this random encounter, and you know what? That's not the bad part. The bad part is having an enemy who just regenerates infinitely, and especially against me because I'm an ape who won't just leave. But eventually I relent, for now, because this is just stupid as hell. I probably did 100,000 damage to him and had nothing to show for it, so I just progressed forward, and before I progress forward with you, let's discuss skills, attributes, and gear. You level up in much the same way as typical, kill a bunch of enemies in your level range, and progress in power. The skill trees are extremely similar to Diablo 2, but I didn't find any skill that transcended my experience. Jumping ahead slightly, I played with 3 different classes and they all felt very similar. For the marksman, I got scopes, grenades, napalm, sit on the ground and shoot better, and it took the gameplay of walking to a location and shooting people nowhere different. It was 100% walk to an area and shoot enemies the entire game. Now I know what I signed up for, but I need a power spike in this genre to get excited, which can either come from skill or gear development, but in regards to gear, as you play, you get large, huge clumps of drops, which aren't that enjoyable because A, you have to sift through the items in a weird way, which doesn't really lend itself to being visible or accessible, and B, your inventory fills up incredibly quickly, and C, I'm an asshole who hates everything. But really, when your options are to sell or break things down, and the pathing in the inventory is so slow and bad because it has to beep at you before it lets you break things down, and it takes 2 button presses to do, it gets you manic. Well, it gets me manic. I just want to start skipping picking up anything in general. Fuck. Attributes, alright, I'm a video creator, I know what I'm doing. They're like most other games in the sense that that you allocate 5 of them per level up, but this time it's a bit better because they give you very concise and understandable definitions for what they actually do. Additionally, you essentially pay for your gear with attribute points, as each piece of gear has a tax of say 11 stamina, 15 willpower, stuff like that. They don't deduct from your actual stats as far as I can see. The UI is a bit of the whole, it's a portmanteau of dick and hole, keep up with the lingo please, and it serves as just an arbitrary way to keep you from ignoring any of the attributes. I'm actually not a big fan. Half the time I didn't even understand what it wanted from me. When 11 stamina is highlighted in red, I don't immediately understand why 35 stamina total is insufficient. While I've learned why, yes I do have brain, I can learn and comprehend new things, it's unintuitive and I often didn't know what I should even put my attribute points into ahead of time. Fortunately, you can buy a fairly cheap item to respec, but I probably did this 5 times in one playthrough just because a really cool looking item would be several levels away if I didn't swap up my points. Have I talked / complained like a child about combat enough yet? No? Okay, no problem. Here's some more. Combat is boring. Combat stink.
Combat fuck.
A lot of time in this game is spent going around whacking enemies, and many of the game's side quests involve going to an area you probably don't need to go to progress to fucking script sucks. But really, the side quests are all pretty awful in my humble dumble opinion, because they point you all over to complete objectives that are basically the same thing over and over again. Kill this bastard, shoot this guy, bring me metal, test your metal, blah blah blah. I legit stopped paying any attention to what the hordes of yellow exclamation points wanted from me, even with Wirt in the game. Look, it's Wirt. Really, the problem is that the gameplay is far too repetitive to enjoy, and yes, I'm aware what genre we're talking about right now. The point still stands. Part of the problem is that the enemies are unresponsive to taking damage. So often you're just missing and hitting the air near something, and the only indication you have that an enemy is taking damage is the tiny health bar movements that you have to fixate on. You really need the reception of impact in ARPGs, otherwise they're fated to be boring pretty quickly. Even across several characters, it doesn't change up. You're still fighting everything you did from every other playthrough, and I didn't feel a big dynamic power spike or variation in my approach. Walk, shoot, wait, repeat, write YouTube video, complain, bitch, get money, repeat. That's my life. Oh yeah, I forgot, I was talking about gear at one point, and another big reason combat is less than adequate is that gear has some of the weakest impact I've seen. Besides the fact that you're getting drops 24/7, the differences in the gear is sometimes so small it's hard to identify the difference it's making. Hell, I don't even know what color is better than each other. There's blue, green, orange, some other lighter green, fucking red for patterns that produce something or other. Actually, have you ever thought about colorblind people playing ARPGs? Shit is fucking sucks. Sorry to think about that. Anyway, besides that PSA, really there was never a moment I was excited for a drop. At first, I figured orange was really good, but you get like a lot of them, and when you go from 22 damage to 23 damage and the stats are both jumbles of jack shit, I don't have any interest. There's even stuff with seemingly great text on them, like 50% fire damage or +1 to a skill you're using, but I swear nothing ever changed. Combat went from 12 seconds per encounter to 11.9. Usually in an ARPG, you get one specific item and everything changes, but I never got that feeling in Hellgate London. The one system with gear I found really cool was modifications, but they also don't seem to do much for your power growth. Still, I'll give you the crash course. Say you have a gun, it's a good gun, the good green gun, and it has 6 modifier slots on it. Now you can plug 6 independent power altering items into this weapon, and that idea is pretty exciting. Like, you can start going absolutely ape with random additions to your power, since every modifier also rolls different rarities. I'm willing to bet, min-maxing, you can probably make some kind of monstrous item in Hellgate London if you know more about the systems at play or you care. 2 things I don't meet the criteria for, but let me just show you a specific unique gun in this game. I don't have interest in 90% of these attributes. If you love the item system in Hellgate London, explain why in 500 words or more in the comments below. Any less than that, I won't read your comment. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Hey, I also wanted to mention there's a message every hour about excessive playtime. I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to ever see this. Anyway, back to Etharm. As you see, this battle is still going on, and I just wanted to let you know that I did eventually kill him. It was one of the greatest accomplishments of my life, and I basically decided, if nothing else, I got to defeat Etharm. Then you go into portals into hell, fight things into portals into hell, fight things into Japan, what the fuck, into portals into hell to fight things, and that goes on a lot. And you know what, I decided I was being stupid. Why was I playing a gunner character here? It's London, it's time to bust out the lore character, knife guy, and I decided maybe melee is more of what I would find fun. So I made the character, maybe this will be fun, but that was too long of a name, so it became maybe this will be fun. I was a tiny swords master ready to walk into London and beat the game. Wasn't better. Now, I appreciate that you can ice get around and slash with the melee build, and my fortitude and all that was superior, but still, I felt like I couldn't just rend the asses of groups. I just wanted to have not 2 giant nerf bats and would rather had a real shitting sword. You know, there's also this box of free enchantment that lets you put on hyper amounts of bonuses on your gear, and look, I did. I tried every level multiple times, disregard how much this fucks my money, and you know what, again, it looks great. This seems fun, except that through this method I added the literal worst keyword to a weapon I have ever seen in my entire life. Mind control, where you on hit make the target fight for you for 3 seconds, and that sounds super fun. Like, damn, you could just make the boss start kicking ass in your corner, except that it makes the enemy unable to take damage anymore. And also, if you think about it, you have a small baby health pool and everyone else has a huge one. So if you get the thing that does a little amount of damage to you to do a little amounts of damage to everything else, that kind of doesn't do anything. Also, the proc rate is seemingly 90%, so I didn't have any fun trying to kill anything. Anyway, then I made Jeff Bezos. He's a summoner and he conjures up the employees of Amazon to fight the forces of hell, or so it goes. I can't be bothered wondering why I'm using demons to fight demons now. I'll give you this class is distinct and I liked it, but it's a pet build, so I'm instantly not having the most fun I could be having in an ARPG. I always felt like having the game play with itself was kind of a bad design, and you need the player to feel like you modify the combat a bit. And the way in which you do that in Hellgate London is by shooting a gun at things, fine I suppose. So off I was round 3 and I was seeing the pattern by now. Since new skills are available every 5 levels, it means that there's a chunk of time where the game is simply boring to play. Until around 20, the skills lack a diverse amount of options, despite every class having 3 trees and multiple builds. For the gunner, it was sit and shoot, or scope and shoot, or shoot and shoot. Swordsman is big slash, or spin slash, or dash slash, and Jeff Bezos was just various types of spawns. That's cooler because I felt like I was literally seeing the evolution of power, but it didn't arouse my neurons for long. But for a time it did do. Here's some positivity. Some environments were cool to traverse, like you go inside a brain at some point. Wow, what the fuck? You fight Sigmund Freud's id, ego, and superego? Okay, great. Real world locations as hellscapes is a neat concept, and it's worth praising that the game does successfully make you feel bad that London is this bad off. I wish I could feel the same kind of sympathy about characters and bosses, but there's nothing exciting going on with them. Every quest, side quest, location I was told to go to was in the most linear point A to B fashion possible. I can't even recall a single character's name right now off the top of my head. It helps that I'm stupid, but I also was because they were boring. Deckard Cain. I will never forget fucking Deckard. Jumping all the way to the final boss, by the way. I was hoping it would be Satan, but it wasn't, so that was a drag. Oh well. Minus spoilers, by the way. The final boss isn't Satan. Or it could have been Diablo. Fuck, that would have been suave. Name him Diablo. Like good game Diablo 2. That's the best ARPG. Oh yeah, another thing that severely gets on my nerves, but you earn accolades for doing various things, a system which I actually think is a good idea, except they're way too frequent and they don't matter at all. You get a million of these little ones for killing 50 of something, plus since the rewards are practically just the same thing every time, I don't know what I was accomplishing. This is why if you want your cheap dopamine hits, you have to provide decent incentive for trying new things out instead of having them passively piss into the player's report card. Made a video on this topic, go check it out, it's alright. What? Closing remarks? Who's talking to me? Is it you? Yes. Alright, seeing as how I have no personal interest to ever play Hellgate London again, I will confidently say that I don't think it's the best ARPG ever made, so I apologize Steam charts, no more of this game. What we have here is a unique perspective ARPG with linear gameplay loops, excessive repetition, even more than the typical fare in this genre, and it really doesn't have the necessary addictive traits to make me fall in love with anything. I do respect the real world approach, and I think the concept is fun, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired, and if this was back in the day when the game came out, I wouldn't even be that excited as I was paying a subscription service to walk around as Jeff Bez. But you know what? This has been great. It's good to see you all again. Now I'm going to step into this portal and I'll see you in hell. That's right, Minecraft. Dungeon Siege, great game. Can't wait. See you next time.